Good morning. Happy Monday. Good to see you all again. Welcome to SJU. We've got Academy Award nominees, obviously, and we're also talking about vampires. I'm very excited to have my panel here today. There's no elegant way to do that.
No. We're talking about a movie that, as far as I can tell, is about Jared Leto inventing vampires.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that later.
As he did.
As he did.
Many millennia ago.
I've got with me my Ed.
Hello, guys.
Hello. I've got my Emma.
Hello.
I've got my Dan.
Hi.
We have got a ton of Oscar stuff to get through, so let's get into it. The 2020 Oscar nominations, this list is via Variety. Obviously, the awards will air on February 9th on ABC. Some of the biggest things, Todd Phillips' Joker scored a leading 11 Oscar nominations. Martin Scorsese's mob epic, The Irishman, Quentin Tarantino's Ode to Los Angeles, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Sam Mendes' war drama 1917 followed close behind with 10 nods apiece. As I'm sure if you've been reading today, or as Twitter's talked about, and we'll probably talk about a little bit, there were no female directors nominated for Best Director this year. And we're going to get into some of like the movies and other things, but overall kind of thoughts and feelings about the nominees.
Well, 2019 was a phenomenal year in film.
Great year in film.
And I don't, there's very few actual nominations I have a big problem with. It's more the system itself, which I think has really been because they decided, for whatever reason, that the Academy Awards are in early February now.
Yeah.
Everything has been bumped up. Like normally, 10 years ago, the Golden Globes wouldn't even have happened yet. They'd become up this weekend.
Yeah.
And Academy Award nominations would be a month from now, and the Academy Awards would be 2 months from now. They've shortened everything, which means now, like, what I do is review movies. That's what I do. It was so hard, and I had more access, and maybe not time, but a fair amount of time to see movies, to try to see them all, and I'm still catching up.
Yeah.
And the deadlines for all this award stuff was weeks ago in some cases. For the Oscars, I think at least 2 weeks ago. Well, I have so many thoughts.
Yeah.
But the short thing being, if you're going to make this awards season now so short, you have to move. I believe you absolutely now have to move Academy Award nominations to a juried selection because of a block of voters this big cannot see the number of movies they have to see. I did the numbers because I'm me. There were 104. There were 104 different slots available. There were 104 slots for narrative feature films. Places where you could have nominated 34 different movies. 2/3 of the nominations are repeated nominations for movies that were already nominated. A lot of them are good movies, but in a year this good, that is an atrocious ratio for 2/3 of your nominations to be repeat nominations, and it's because 23 of those 34 movies came out October through December. 2/3 of those movies came out in the last 3 months of the year. And it's not that there weren't great movies that were up at the beginning of that year. You cannot expect a block this big, a lot of them professionals, a lot of them working long hours, to sit there and be able to go through all these movies. You're going to get groupthink when you abbreviate this thing. You have got to move to a jury selection panel. You've got to move nominations to a jury. You get it. Instead of everyone in every different branch of the Academy being eligible to nominate, you go to a group of people in a year and you say, whether that's 100 people, whether that's 200 people, I don't know. It doesn't have to be a small jury, but you get a group of people to say, I am going to watch. It is my responsibility. That's everyone. Technically, already you're supposed to say that.
Right.
But you get a group of people to commit to being the jury and saying, I am going to watch. If I'm in the costume, if I'm doing hair and makeup and costumes or whatever, I'm going to watch Rocket Man.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch Downton Abbey.
Right.
I'm going to watch movies that maybe didn't come out in the last 3 months of the year because I'm sorry. We'll get to it, I'm sure. But you cannot watch Rocket Man and Downton Abbey and Joker and tell me which one of those 3 movies deserves to be nominated for an Academy Award. Like, almost objectively, you cannot tell me. So you have got, if you're going to shorten the season, fine. But you've got to move it to a juried system where you have people who are committed to watching everything that they possibly can, because everyone needs to have an equal shot at this. And the way that it works, they just don't. They just don't. They took a broken system and they made it worse somehow. And it sucks, because there's so many great movies that weren't recognized for anything. And a lot, like I said, a lot of these movies that were nominated were great, but for 2/3 of your nominees to be movies that were nominated for other stuff, when you've got stuff like Waves and The Farewell and Uncut Gems and Honey Boy and movies that got nothing Dolomite Is My Name, that got nothing.
That's ridiculous. Got nothing.
Yes.
Either, there were so. I'm completely with you on this.
I think that's all the time we have. Apologies. Sorry, guys. I'm wound up today.
I saw your tweet this morning, and it rang so true of why are we just seeing all of these repeat nominations? It made the Golden Globes look diverse and interesting, and that's because, again, the Golden Globes has these sort of micro categories of musical/comedy and drama, so it allows for a bunch of nominations. But it's so true to see something like The Farewell completely overlooked, or Booksmart, or just and the fact that you had so many great films that were directed by women and by people of color and by women of color, and for none of them to get recognized at all as a nominee in the Best Director category, I don't know what to say.
It is a really, really good year for movies. I almost wonder if, to your point about how so many of these that are nominated now, they came out in that last kind of quarter. Do you think, and it's something that we've seen happen, and I'm wondering if this year especially is going to lead this push, is it going to start getting even more congested now at the end of the year because people really want to make sure their films get seen? It
can't. That's the thing, though. It can't get more congested. It is already so congested and now shortened and abbreviated. There's now with all of these things, it really does come down to who's got the more, I'm sorry, 2 popes, I've got them at home, they sent slippers and crap. Netflix had a very aggressive strategy, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why you see 2 popes popping up, because, again, it's fine, but there's so many other things. Why is 2 popes 2 popes? Is it both popes? Do we need both popes? You can recognize maybe one of the popes and give another pope spot to somebody who's not a pope. I didn't need both popes. Right. Was it a contractual thing? I don't know, but
it's like Statham and The Rock. They both have to have equal amount of pope time.
I guess you get one pope, you got to take the other pope or something. Whatever. Yeah.
So Dan, you,
I apologize.
First we'll go through, and I'm going to bring it back around to you later because I want to talk about the Critics' Choice Awards as well. But first, let's go through some of these nominees and just see kind of our general thoughts. So for Best Picture, Ford versus Ferrari, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Parasite. I'm very happy that Parasite got on this list. There were other movies which people were very sure, like Hustlers was one that I was kind of surprised didn't get anything on this as well, because that one, as soon as it came out, people were like, this could, weirdly, this J-Lo exotic dancer movie might actually get a nomination.
I mean, we talk about it on Charting all the time. It's the danger of being the front runner, which is when you come out early in the awards season, which means October, because the awards season is apparently, by the way, all of these movies except for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood all came out October through December. You're the front runner and people forget about you. And Laura Dern was kind of the shiny new performance that people gravitated towards, and that's just what happened is people forgot about J-Lo because 2 months. Who can remember back 2 months?
2 months. Whew.
Come on.
I was a baby back then.
Give me.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at the Best Pictures, and this list does seem to reek of early. I looked at this kind of early and just stopped thinking about it, And of the ones that I like Jojo Rabbit because Jojo Rabbit is good.
Amazing,
Jojo Rabbit is moving. Jojo Rabbit made me cry at moments I was supposed to laugh because I'm just I can't. I got to break the kayfabe real quick. This is horrible. I'm going to cry right now. You know what I mean? That moved me. No Joker. Okay.
Just crossed it off his list.
Wow.
That's not actually
not how it works. Sorry.
It's still on there.
And you know what? As much as I love my man Scorsese, I got a shrine set up. It's got 2 black eyebrows and then gray hair over the top of that, and just a bunch of screenplays. I love him so much, but The Irishman is about a follower dork. A person who can't make up their own mind about what they want to do, so they're used by powerful people. And it's 4 hours long of that. 4 hours long of someone being a pawn their whole life. No Best Picture for you. So then we got... Yeah, gotta cross it out.
Okay.
All right. Ford versus Ferrari. I'm Not a Dad in Seattle.
That's a good movie.
Let's see.
That's a good movie.
My dad in Seattle loved it.
I know.
It is a great dad movie.
I don't know if I would have nominated for Best Picture, but it's a good movie.
I mean that as a compliment. It's a great dad movie. Dads will love Ford versus Ferrari if you have not seen it.
And you know what? I think I would give it more credit if they showed Shelby to be kind of the... I don't want to say dirtbag, because we judge so many people by these today standards. I'm not trying to out-woke myself. I woke myself up before I go-goed. I'm not going to do that. But he was a real son of a bee in real life, and I think a Ty Cobian performance would have been great.
It's a little bit like anytime you see anything fictional about P.T. Barnum and they make him seem like he was great, and it's like, no, he really was kind of a horrible person.
Maybe like some balance.
And if somebody embraced that, though, it could be a great character part where you'd be like, wow, that's a nomination for your butt. Okay, so Marriage Story. I like Marriage Story. I like Marriage Story more than most people liked it, and I saw more humanity on both sides of it than a lot of people said. Like, oh, he's obviously the bad guy. I'm like, no.
I think that's the strength of the
movie. From a certain point of view, everybody's right in there.
That was one, because I think I've talked about this before. I used to be a paralegal working in family law, so that one especially for me was like, just like being able to see how divorce works, and it seems like it was kind of an education for a lot of people, which was interesting. Right. I really like Marriage Story.
And I'm definitely going to admit it wasn't the 1-inch barrier, but I haven't seen Parasite, so I have to back off. I was supposed to go see it a couple times, and plans got crashed, so I think I'm going to rectify that mistake today or tomorrow. Yeah. So I'll be able to weigh in today later. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the exact sort of Hollywood thing that they love to put up for Best Picture and then not give it to it. But this might be his year to get that, Lifetime Achievement Award.
Well, it won. I was at the Critics' Choice Awards last night, and it was a surprise winner for Best Picture. I think a lot of people were expecting not that film, and it was a bit surprising. I think that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood would win.
I could see it possibly winning.
It's very wide open this year.
Yeah, it is pretty wide open this year. I went and saw 1917 in IMAX yesterday, and I mean, guys, if you have not seen 1917, go to the theater. It is in wide release now. It's really great. It's very British, but it's so well done, and when you go see it in IMAX, it's almost like you're on a ride at a theme park. But I mean that in a good way. That it's just, again, it's a war story, but somehow it's not really. They make it this very personal journey, and it's just really, really beautiful and well done. I'm not surprised to see it on there. I'm really happy to see it on there. I am thrilled to see Little Women on this list.
Yes.
Greta Gerwig's interpretation of this story was so well done. The way that she didn't keep time linear, and my absolute favorite thing about this adaptation were all of the scenes where you were just in Orchard House in the March family's home, and people were kind of all talking at once. It wasn't really clean dialogue, and you really felt like you were in these people's lives.
And she does that on purpose.
She totally does that on
purpose. It's yes.
And it's good filmmaking.
Yeah, that was one where there were obviously all the jokes of I've seen Little Women a million times. You have not seen this version of Little Women before. She is doing something really interesting, and I know it's a story that most of us are pretty familiar with. You've seen a play or you've read the book or whatever, but don't sleep on this version because it is really good.
I would really, really like to see Parasite take this. I gotta be honest. I'm so happy it's on here. I'm so devastated that there's no love anywhere really for The Farewell or for Honey Boy. There's so many great movies.
Well, okay, if there's one movie that should have been on here some damn where, in my personal opinion, it is Honey Boy. Obviously, if there's only one, and maybe that's just me being myopic because I definitely saw that when I saw it in the theaters.
I saw it in the theater.
And my friend, Byron Bowers is in it, so maybe I've got a little, you know. But like, it was that lady can direct.
Heck yeah.
There's so many moments where you must buy into the conceit of how some piece of information is being presented to you, or else it'll yank you out of the movie like you're on one of those stunt harnesses. And she keeps it right where it needs to be for you to be involved in such a sort of navel-gazy story, if we're going to be honest. It's sort of looking into your own navel, trying to discover your own origin. Why are you like this sort of story? But I felt as though it was me, and also I was a voyeur. I was a voyeur when I needed to be, and I was the character when I needed to be. It's masterfully directed.
And Honey Boy made the mistake of doing it the way where you do the awards, the Sundance, thing at the beginning of the year, and then come out in the fall, and it's just I said this about Lupita Nyong'o too. For us, I think if Honey Boy and Us had both been released in November, you would have seen nominations for them. But because they had the crime of being released early in the year.
Especially given the fact
that it's such a sprint to the finish now.
I was also surprised too to not see any love for like The Lighthouse or Midsommar.
One nomination, nothing for Midsommar, nothing for Midsommar.
Yeah.
I think Midsommar honestly disturbed. I think Midsommar and Hereditary just disturb people too much for them to go back there and look at them on their merits. I think they just
then you should be deciding what gets nominated for an award.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Because Florence Pugh, I was very glad to see her
she got nominated
for Best
Little
Supporting
Women.
Actress because she should have been nominated for Best Actress, or at least in the conversation, which she wasn't.
You know who I was really surprised to not see at all in the Best Supporting Actor? I mean, I was devastated that Eddie Murphy was not nominated for Best Actor for Dolomite.
Very devastated by that.
So mad about that.
Thank you for talking about it so I didn't have to.
Oh, yeah. But I was also really surprised to not see Sam Rockwell nominated anywhere in the Best Supporting Actor category, considering the number of films he could have been nominated for this year. I personally would have nominated him for JoJo because I feel like he had a hard part to play in JoJo, and the movie doesn't work without him.
Well, there's a group thing that happens, and this is part of everyone's talking today about what needs to change, what needs to change. Part of what needs to change is the thinking of the people. It's the culture around awards, because I was just looking today and I found this is an article from Vulture in September. Here's what this said. There's a talk about the shortened awards calendar, and the thing is, people read this and then it's truth, and it becomes the narrative for how these things fold out. It says, in theory, the shortened calendar should also give a leg up to films that hit theaters before the crammed fall season, which comparatively have had all the time in the world to find their message. You would think so. However, speaking to industry sources, this doesn't appear to be a year like 2017, which saw multiple Best Picture nominees bow early. Of 2019's crop, the only pre-fall movie that seems sure to make a big Oscar splash is Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Shocker, the only one that ended up being nominated for Best Picture, which many observers are already penciling in for a Best Picture nomination. This is the kind of stuff, because the punditry and the coverage and everything else around the awards does decide, because people read it in the trades. They read that the trades tell them what to go see, and the trades always say that it's whatever just came out, and then they watch what just came out, and it's a vicious circle. And going into what gets coverage and what doesn't, and that's a whole other thing. But part of the thing is that because this whole system is so broken and people don't have time to watch everything, they take their cues from the trades and whoever else, which is just they're chasing their tail. The trades were saying Cats was going to be nominated 3 weeks ago.
Cowards!
And then people actually saw it and they're like, oh, never mind. And then they said Cats isn't going to be nominated, and people are like, nope, no, it's not. It's like you have got to get people to make up their own minds about this stuff. That is like, the Academy is making so many strides forward in diversifying their membership, people of color, and by age, we're getting younger people in, getting more women in, and they need to do that. That is such a needed step.
It's so needed.
Somehow we've got to change this culture around how this whole thing is decided, because people just take their narratives from other stuff, and you can diversify your membership all you want, but if they're taking a narrative from a trade article because they don't have time to do any of these, and the trade articles are only pushing certain films. That trade article in September said that the only movie that came out before the award season that was going to be nominated was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and lo and behold, it came to pass.
Here we are.
You've got to figure out how to get people who actually care about this to nominate these movies.
Well, we have to adopt the grindhouse system, wherein the last 3 months of the year just put out grindhouse crap. All the theaters united. united. They decide grindhouse crap is what we're going to show, and that's when the real nitty-gritty genre filmmakers can really shine and kick some butt. That whole time while the oldsters are coming out of their crypts to vote for this stuff, they push the casket lid aside, drop their quill in blood, do
That's
their
where you
voting.
put all of your cats. All of your cats
Here's
in the
what we
last
need
part
to
of the
do.
year.
We need to swap January, February, and March with October, November, and December as far as release schedule, so that the last 3 months of the year are, and I know that the exhibitors would hate it, is all, not all, is largely garbage.
Yeah.
And then all the great stuff comes out in January, February, and March, and you got all year.
I know. I feel like the end of the year is the perfect time for garbage because you're just hanging out with your family, winding down.
You know your family don't want to see nothing good.
Right.
Try to get
They want to see Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, try to get 8 people to go see something good.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
Nope.
So that's the schlock season.
Yeah.
Schlock season. That's what we call it.
schlock
season.
Schlock season.
Yes. Yep.
I think we solved it, guys.
Yeah,
I think we did it.
solved the
Week's movies.
Oscars.
Well,
Okay.
and again, they did, to your point, talking about, and to yours as well, people who still have passion and who do this. One thing that I don't know, like how they're implementing that now, but they did say that they were going to start, if you haven't been in some way involved, and it could just be as a producer throwing your money, it could be because you own a production company that maybe you don't have a lot to do with, but if you have nothing to do with movies and haven't in like years, you don't get to be someone who votes for the Oscars. And I don't necessarily...
But I told you, they push the crypt door open and throw the ballots in for a lot of these people. I'm sorry.
All the vampires previously created by Jared Leto.
I can only watch screeners of the sun.
I don't necessarily even blame the people as much. I blame the system.
Yeah.
Because there's a system in place that says that the films that can do the screenings, that can throw, special screenings with the guests and stuff, those are the ones worthy of awards consideration, and those are the things that the guilds and stuff go to. I went to a lot of them myself. I was on that list this year, but that's not necessarily every movie. I had to go find Waves.
Yeah.
I had to go to a theater and find it because Waves and A24, they don't have those kinds of resources. And so you cannot just leave it up to a system that tells voters which movies are important and which ones aren't. Because not every movie is created equal. Not every studio has that kind of resources. And if you care about the art form, then you should care about finding every movie. And sometimes it is the movies that throw the big premieres and the big parties. And sometimes it is those movies, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a good point, Dan, of that it feels like so much of what ends up getting nominated for awards is based on basically awards marketing.
Yeah.
Well, and recency bias because as an end of my diatribe about the Best Picture noms, I really think if it isn't Once Upon a Time, because it's Hollywood sort of doing an Ouroboros on themselves, it's 1917 because it came along right at the right time and pressed all the right people, had all the funky fresh techniques, had all the nationalism and imperialism. It's got all the pills. It's got all the pills, and I loved it myself. I watched it. It was involving. Maybe I was looking for cuts a little bit too much early on. It didn't get to be as immersed as I wanted to be. But every single political agenda and the way that it was it's marketed and its timing and its craft. You want to talk about makeup, CGI that's invisible, lighting. It's incredible in the way that people. That Joker is not. Joker's lit very well, but Deacons, baby, you can't beat the Deacons.
What he's doing that right. No, and also I noticed. That 1917 was nominated for hair and makeup, which, holy moly, it should be, because the amount of dead bodies in this movie are unbelievable, and this is horrible to say, they look great. I'm like,
it's immersive. It's immersive. It doesn't take you out of the movie. Seeing a lot of carnage, let's call it. Seeing a lot of carnage can take you out of a movie. It can make you go, well, what? Stan Winston gets an award? It can take you out of something. It was immersive in that case.
When I talk about the jury prizes too, is like it wasn't nominated for best editing, and I know that the guilds and I know that the different branches nominate a lot of times, but again, even inside those branches, not everyone has time. Like if you have a jury of people inside the editing branch that sit down and watch everything, I think that you might have seen, because I understand what happened is people saw 1917. It looks like it's all one shot, and so they're like, I'm not going to nominate it for editing because it's just a bunch of takes strung together. But the fact that the editing is invisible is what
That's why you
impressive
should.
things about
That's
the
why
movie.
you should nominate it for best editing.
Well,
That's why you should.
It's just like how some things don't get effects because you didn't see them. That's the point.
That's the point.
That's the point.
And
And oh my god, and can we talk about how like Avengers Endgame is basically not represented
Right.
on this list at all?
What did it got? What? One nomination for was it visual effects?
Maybe
I
visual
think?
effects.
Yeah.
So let me look.
No
at the list.
score for Silvestri. No,
Yeah.
and that's
The
another
score,
thing.
I really like. That's
I
what
love John
disappoints
Williams.
Me. Yeah.
I love John Williams.
52nd time nominated.
He's the Mozart.
Wow.
He is the Mozart of our times. He is the Beethoven of our times. He is the music. I believe he's the musical genius of our times. The narrative came late,
Right.
that John Williams needs to win this year to honor him for doing all of the Star Wars movies. If you want to do that, and he deserves it, give him an honorary Oscar.
Yep.
Give him a special
Yep.
achievement. They used to give him all the time, but. There were many scores. Alan Silvestri's being one of them, and his music. He's always great in Rise of Skywalker, but that score versus Avengers score, just the use of it, where it falls again. Like if you want to honor John Williams, honor the man. Good God Almighty, honor him. But this again, I had not heard his name breathed as a nominee for Star Wars until the last month or so, and they're like, people started writing John Williams should get a career achievement nomination for Star Wars Rise of
people
Skywalker,
do that.
and now he's gotten one, and he may win. And there's so many great scores this year. It's not anything against John Williams. Again, it's the system.
No, it's the
system is
system.
broken.
Yeah, well, and like I was trying to say last year in my Ed Talk, as people in the chat have talked about it, when I mangled TED Talks and
Talks.
it's I was just trying to say that narrative runs everything. We can fact everybody to death. You can should in your own pants. You know what I mean? Facts, should, all this, whatever, dog, whatever. It is about narrative, and until someone wins the narrative battle in this, which is why I suggest Schlockfest, Schlock season at the end. That's the whole point of that, because it's now you give it a narrative. What do they say in Things to Do in Denver When You're Dead? One of the most overrated movies, but it's still pretty good. Give it a name. Give it a name. That's what they keep saying in that movie. Give it a name. Give it a name for us to have a time to decompress, to look back over the year, to see that Ruth Carter's costumes in Dolomite, at least the costumes. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to shut these marginal groups out, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but if you're going to do it, at least have them have the awards where they really dominated, like freaking costume design, like effects, like these other things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel particularly, and this is something else we'll talk about before we we've got some time. Going into some of these like actor and actress categories, we've got Cynthia Erivo. This is not her fault. I'm going to go ahead and say that straight up. But now the narrative is, well, she's the only person of color that got it because she played a slave, and that's the narrative. Yep.
Wow.
Twitter. But that's like that is, and that is the narrative, and whether you believe it or not, now that is something that she's going to carry with her forever. And I don't like. I liked her. I do think there were other people who should also be in there. Her performance was not my favorite performance of the year. But now it becomes, well, she played a slave, and so now she gets nominated for an award she's not going to win.
Well, and the crazy part is they done gave Joaquin Phoenix an award for being a deluded person who basically plays two characters over the course of a movie. Why not give it to Lupita Nyong'o?
More nuanced and realistic. Oh my God!
Why not?
She didn't get nominated. One of my favorite thing about the HCAs this year was she was our Best Actress winner, and deservedly so.
Yes, heck yes.
Lupita not being in that category for lead actress, I don't understand. And I loved all these performances, but I would take. Yeah, I would take any of those out. And when people's like, well, who'd you take out? I would take any of them. I would honestly take any of those out.
Right.
And I would put Lupita Nyong'o
And they
in
were
there.
all great. But literally anyone, Lupita.
But none of it makes any damn sense.
Well, and it's just frustrating too because it's like
Rami Malek wins for lip syncing Freddie Mercury, and he was great. And then Taron Egerton sings the damn songs, and he doesn't even get nominated. And it's because Bohemian Rhapsody came out in November, and Rocket Man came out in May.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any damn sense. Sorry, not a lick of sense. They were both great.
Right.
You've turned Dan into the rent is too damn high guy. That's what you guys have done.
The system is broken. Sign me up for the debates.
Are there any other kind of, like, looking through this list of stuff, we've talked a little bit about the snubs and things that we're a little bit disappointed in. Is there anything that you're really super psyched about?
Well, we have both popes.
They didn't cheap out on the Pope.
You gotta pick which pope you want. And 2 people from the Irishman, I think is excessive.
Yeah.
That's
I'm not
excessive.
than to be a
much.
jerk, but that's excessive.
I'm excited for every nomination that Parasite got.
Right?
I was happy to see Claws on animated features.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Sad to see Toy Story 4 over Frozen 2. The animation in Frozen 2 was beautiful. It was a really great story. I will die on the hill of Frozen 2 was great.
Speaking of animated, for short, I'm really excited that Hair Love got in.
Yes.
That's the one that
It's
makes me
so
cry.
cute.
It's very, very cute. It's about like daddy-daughter time, and it's great. And it was created by one of the best Twitter followers you can ever have. But if you get a chance to watch Hair Love, go see Hair Love. I'm really proud of all of them for getting that.
I was also very excited to see Knives Out nominated for Best Original Screenplay.
yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Again, Florence Pugh, I was just glad. She did such great work fighting with my family and Midsommar and Little Women. She did such great work. I was glad that she got some nod out of that. And you know what? Kathy Bates was fantastic in Richard Jewell, and it came on so late. She of everything in that movie, and Paul Walter Hauser was great, and as you mentioned, Sam Rockwell did some great work. But Kathy Bates was the standout in me. So I was glad to see that she was recognized in this category. There was another one. I was a little surprised that Scarlett Johansson got the double nom. I thought they might give her one or the other.
And I was thinking JoJo on
That's
that.
what I was thinking JoJo also. Yeah.
I was honestly thinking JoJo because she was great in both films, but my personal favorite of those two was JoJo from her.
I'm sad none of the kids from JoJo got nominated.
I want
Just to
Bong
see him at
Joon-ho
the
to win.
thing.
I know.
Yes.
Because he gives a great acceptance speech. Like, have you watched his speeches
Brad
all
Pitt?
year? No, Bong Joon-ho.
Oh, Bong Joon-ho, yeah.
Brad Pitt hadn't showed
Yeah.
up. He hadn't given any statement.
Yeah.
He does show up for the Golden Globes and the Oscars. That's all
Right.
he is to go to. Bong Joon-ho is he came to the Hollywood Critics the HCAs
Amazing.
last week, and he gave a speech where he said it was a great speech. He said, I like to write in coffee shops, and so but I always go to coffee shops that don't have any traffic, because I liked quiet. He's like, but the problem is every time I start a new movie, the coffee shop that I went to is out of business because I only go to ones that aren't busy.
That's great.
That's great.
Amazing.
He's a funny person.
I was a little surprised in foreign language films that Portrait of a Lady on Fire didn't get
Well, there was I thought the same thing, but there was a weird thing because you can only nominate if you're one country.
One from a country,
and
that's
they chose
right.
Les Miserables.
Right,
France
okay.
chose Les
All right.
Miserables. But
Right.
I said the same thing on charting, and our astute commenters set me
It's the
straight on
Golden
that.
Globes that can allow you to have multiple from different countries, right?
Well, and then nothing for Adam Sandler, which means it's like Groundhog's Day, you guys. 10 more years of Jack and Jill 2. And he saw his shadow.
Spencer was saying, he gave a quote that said, if I'm not nominated for an Oscar, I'm going to make a movie so bad that you're all going to regret it. And here we are.
I believe him.
I believe it.
I'm 0 for 3. Oscar for Tony, didn't happen. Oscar for Shia, didn't happen.
Yeah.
Oscar for Sandman, didn't happen. I am the champion of the lost cause for the Oscars. I'm very upset. He should have been nominated.
Yeah, I was sad to not see Shia get anything because it was a good year. I felt like it was a good revolution for Shia making a comeback. And again, I'm gonna die on the soapbox of Eddie Murphy not being nominated is a travesty. Because again, it was this perfect double whammy of him doing Dolomite and he was promoting Dolomite when he was on SNL, and it was just like this beautiful perfect storm of Eddie Murphy is back, baby.
Go on Netflix right now. Watch Dolomite and watch The Two Popes because they're both on there. And you come tell me.
The two popes.
Oh yeah.
They should have nominated the 2 Dolomites.
Yes.
That's the movie I would watch.
I would take. Here's the 2 Dolomites I would put in. I'd take Jonathan Pryce. I'd take one Pope out, and I'd put Eddie Murphy in there. And then I'd take the other Pope out on Anthony Hopkins, and I put Wesley Snipes in there. And then now you got it. Now you got a supporting actor
Still
category.
cooking up.
Yeah, me and Dan are of one mind on one thing. It appears.
Yep.
That's boom.
See, this is the power of Dolomite. It brings people together. And so, Dan, we did want to talk a little bit about your experience at the Critics' Choice Awards.
Oh, sure.
So So, first of all, how do these nominations kind of line up with what you saw there?
Well, I'm very proud to say that the nominees of the Critics' Choice Awards included Adam Sandler. It included Uncut Gems for Best Picture. Greta Gerwig was nominated. It's bizarre when you have a group of people whose job and responsibility it is to watch all the movies. Shockingly, movies like The Farewell get nominated. It's amazing how much wider of a net it draws when everyone watches all the movies. No, it was a lot of fun. We were in the back, so we were just watching. Because a few people told us, they're like, okay, here's the moves. Like when the commercial breaks start, sprint into the middle of the room and go take a picture with whoever you want. And I was like, that doesn't seem like that's not my style. I was very much content to just sit back and watch, and it was great. We had a good time. Harvey Keitel gave a speech during the commercial break, which is awesome because why he's Harvey Keitel. What are you not going to let him talk?
Did you tell him no?
When you tell him no, he still beat me up. But yeah, it was just it's a lot of fun, and just to see how an awards show works that's televised. I've never been to one that's live, so it was just it was a good time. Everyone had a good time. Mara and I were just sort of drinking it all in. It was our first time to get to go, and it was just fun. We just had a great time.
Dan, I heard a salacious rumor that there was no food.
Here's the thing. They went vegan, and but the way it worked, it was sort of like a la carte, where like they had the counter was there, they had the Impossible burgers, and Baja Fresh was there, and they had burritos and stuff, and Pinkberry and Cold Stone were there, and there was a gap where you could get some food beforehand at those little counters that they had. You could grab something, but then they stopped serving for a while, like when the show started, because they wanted everyone to go sit down. But then they didn't serve during the show. But then there was like an hour and a half gap where they were serving nothing. And yes, there were lots of hungry people. Like eventually, these people walked out with trays, and it was like they were the celebrities because I chased one halfway across to get Mara a burrito, and then I was like, "Where's the counter person?" And then I like ran across the other part of the auditorium, and I was like, I came back like I've been
conquering hero.
I was like, I got food. It was great.
That's the power of love.
See,
but I don't care.
It
was free. I got to sit around and watch. It's like, oh look, Adam Sandler. That's cool. Just watching. I just like watching him walk by. It's like there's Keegan-Michael Key. There's, Beanie Feldstein's having a good time. I don't know.
Anybody cool at your table? Besides you and Mara,
we don't get the Scott Mance seats just yet. Mance is like he was like sitting next to Joaquin Phoenix.
He was like with the cast of Parasite at one point. I'm like,
it was great because we were, like I said, we were in the back and we were in the corner.
Okay.
First year, that's how it works.
Yeah.
So Bong Joon-ho won. He tied for Best Director with Sam Mendes, and so you can kind of look over and you see the camera crews, and I look and I see Bong Joon-ho getting up, but like in front of him I see Scott Mance going like, I was like, oh, well, I know where Scott's sitting.
Wow.
No, there were some very nice table mates that we sat with, but no celebrities. But it was a very pleasant table. Nice. We just had a good time.
Yeah.
I just liked watching the show. The other one I went to last week, the HCAs. The only two people I approached it was after the show, and they were cool enough they'd stayed, and it's a much smaller, kind of more intimate thing. But I approached Taika Waititi.
Oh my God,
he's
like
the coolest person ever, and asked for a picture. And then strangely, we were leaving, and Bong Joon-ho was just like at his table, like. Just like getting, they were all gathering their stuff, but like, everyone else was sort of approaching all the other people. And so I was like, I got it, right? So I went and just said, I loved your movie. I loved what you said at the Golden Globes. And he was very nice, and we got a picture. And like, that's it. That's the most I'm going to do is like, if they're on my way out of a room and there's literally no one else around them, maybe I'll say hello.
Yeah.
I appreciate your sense of dignity.
I don't know.
It's just not your thing.
It's not my thing. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to move on to segment 1.5. We do have a fan question that is related to this. I'm really excited about these. User Landone asks, what is your favorite Best Picture nominated movie of all time?
Oh my God.
I know. I will go ahead because I've got like 3 that I think would be kind of my...
Okay.
This is a really hard question, so thank you so much for that.
It's extremely difficult.
The Color Purple, which was nominated in '85, is one of my favorite and most quoted movies ever.
Yep.
Goodfellas. 1990.
Okay.
Also one of my
Nice.
favorite movies. Also, I get just a weird thing that I know. If you watch Menace to Society, and especially if you listen to the commentary track, they say they were literally just doing shot by shot of Goodfellas. So that's something to look at next time you watch Menace to Society. And then lastly, and this is more of like a sentimental thing because it was like a first date with someone I really liked, Lost in Translation, which was nominated in 2003. Yeah.
Okay, well, off the top of my head, I would say Sense and Sensibility, the one with the screenplay that was adapted by Emma Thompson and directed by Ang Lee.
I love that movie.
Yeah, freaking love it. That's the first one I can think of off the top of my head. Also, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which did not win, but a lot of the same creative team that worked on that also worked on The Sting, which did win. And I'll see if I come up with some others. But those are two that like stood out to me as I kind of just like scrolled through the list.
Those are some good front runners right there.
I mean, Jaws is my favorite movie, obviously.
Yeah.
Best Picture nominee. The Godfather and Godfather 2, two perfect movies. Casablanca, which I believe is a perfect movie, also a Best Picture winner. It's so tough because if they're nominated for Best Picture, usually they're a good movie. The Apartment, I love The Apartment. Is such a great film. I
just found another one.
Very ahead of its time when you think about it.
It really
just
was.
as far as just the idea of like. This 1960 was not a time yet when the culture had shifted to be like, let's look at the consequences of womanizing.
Yes, I love The Apartment.
And the fact that it ends with Shirley MacLaine literally having the upper hand on. Anyway, I love that movie.
Yeah, go see The Apartment.
I also feel like this is it won Best Picture that year, but I feel like as far as the lists of best films of all time go, it is underappreciated. Amadeus.
Great movie.
Love Amadeus.
Yeah.
That was always like a music room. Teacher didn't lost her voice and couldn't sing.
Yes.
So instead of doing choir, we're watching Amadeus.
Yes, we watched Amadeus in music class too.
Ed Greer.
I don't know. I don't want to be a basic B, but I am of that generation that learned that award shows were crap when Pulp Fiction lost to Forrest Gump. It just ruined me for the whole rest of my life. It put the cynic hat.
Okay.
It put the cynic hat right on me when I saw how avant-garde one of those was, and I saw how much. Ooh, oldsters, you're the greatest generation. Here's an award for you that Forrest Gump winning was. And I just saw it clearly, like the ones and zeros before Neo.
It's true.
I was like,
it was one of those
wow,
generational splits.
This
Like, this
is
is right when that was happening.
ridiculous. Like I just saw the ones and zeros and I was like, no. And that's why I don't like, and I hate to identify with Matrix, mythology to express how I felt about that, because that was the wrong thing to do, obviously. But geez Louise, that's what it felt like. It felt like, wow, this is a big fake-a-rooney, man.
Fake-a-rooney.
The Dan Murrell you saw here sitting at this table today was born the year that Saving Private Ryan lost to Shakespeare in Love for Best Picture.
These
That
are
was
formative
like
things.
It was like the Grinch, my heart shrunk 3 sizes, and I was introduced to a world of the Oscars being unfair and rigged, and the system being broken, and it is 22 years later, it has brought me right here today to say the exact same thing.
But can we give a couple of predictions? I think the audience would like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know, as to who could win some of these things, and maybe a small reasoning why. Because I think a lot of times people want to see our opinions on some of these things. We talked about things we didn't like I crossed out the Joker vociferously. You know what I mean? But I will say I think it could reasonably win for cinematography, and if it's up for score, I didn't see if it was up for score.
It's nominated for original score.
It could very easily win score or cinematography. Although, like I said, my man Deakins, I'm riding for Deakins, man.
Deakins has to win.
I'm ride or die for Roger Deakins.
Deakins has to win. They have some making up to do. Plus, even if he never won, even if I didn't even know he'd shot that movie, I would have said that's got to win. I think Joaquin is almost a lock at this point for Joker. And
I think so too.
I love his performance. in that movie. I think he deserves it.
his performance is great. The cinematography is great. The score is great.
Yeah, I think. I think Hildur. I'm not even gonna. I'm gonna butcher her last name.
Pronounce her last name.
I think that she is close to a lock for score, and again, I think deservedly so. Best Picture, I think, is very wide open. I'd give the slight edge to 1917 right now, but Parasite is picking up a lot of momentum.
That's what I'm saying.
Renee Zellweger seems to have good momentum for
Best Actress,
for lead actress. I don't know if I think maybe Charlize snakes in there, or if the Little Women love is really strong.
I was going to say Saoirse might take it.
Yeah, I think I'm going with Saoirse on that one. I think because I think Judy was a little small scene, even though she's such an icon.
Yeah,
I feel like people who saw Little Women saw the strength of that performance, and I think it's over Harriet and over Marriage Story and probably over Bombshell because of a lot of reasons. Let's just not go there. You know what I'm saying? And I just think she'll win it.
Yeah. Pesci Pitt is the showdown for supporting actor. It's the battle of the sentimental favorites.
But you know what? I wish it was a battle between Pacino and Pitt because honestly, people get mad at the Phantom Man version of Al Pacino. And I've talked about Serpico on this program every month. I just did it again, so we're keeping up the thing.
There we go. Check it off the list.
I love quiet, like burdened Pacino. A lot. But I also love Phantom Man. She got a great Pacino. I love that Pacino. And this one makes good use of the bluster because only somebody who had ultimate bluster and ultimate confidence would ever say to the mob, they wouldn't dare mess with me. Fool, this is the mafia, dude. They replace presidents and stuff. Like, well, what do you think? And I love the bluster of that performance. So I just got to give it up to that part of The Irishman. I felt like was hitting on all cylinders. Every time Pacino was on that screen, de-aged, re-aged, pre-aged. He was great.
We're on the same page again. I agree.
Look at that. That's
the supporting actress category is pretty stacked, I gotta say.
I'm really pulling for Scarlett for Jojo Rabbit. On that one,
she's really good.
I do like Florence Pugh.
That's my thing. Is I think that my personal vote would be for Florence because again, just her incredible body of work this entire year, and also she was specifically really great in Little Women in a role that can be not very likable.
Laura Dern, though.
I know she's so good.
Hollywood royalty.
She's so good.
And I love her. She give her everything.
Yeah.
That would not be an undeserved win if she won.
No, it wouldn't be. That's a very difficult one.
It's a hard category.
I would vote for 4 of those.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Margot Robbie.
Yep.
But I mean, she was good. But top of the best of the year.
I think
to me, no.
I don't think so.
Too many of the people voting have been divorced for Laura Dern to win. I think that might be the thing because her speech about, hey man, take up for what they got because da-da-da-da-da, like her reasoning and busting it all down, that moved me. I was like, oh, this is disturbing.
Yeah, but if you're successful in this town, that means that she won a lot of money for you, so you're going to like her character. It's all the broke people who don't have careers anymore who got taken to the dry cleaners that are going to like Laura Dern in the movie.
Yeah, I'm pulling hard for original screenplay for Knives Out.
Me too.
I feel like that one has a really good shot of getting it.
I think it could.
Quentin or Parasite. I think, unfortunately.
Well, but I think that's his. See, I think it's one of those things where they might mess around and fool us all and give him the best picture finally and let somebody else have the screenplay award that's been his almost every time he's tried to get it.
Yeah.
Adapted screenplay, I'm really pulling for JoJo.
I'm pulling for JoJo.
Really pulling for JoJo. And I loved Little Women, so I would not be upset if Little Women won.
I think Greta Gerwig, they're going to make up for her not being nominated elsewhere. I think they may give it to her.
Sorry, Two Popes. You're nominated for a bunch of stuff. You're probably not going to win.
It's fine.
Two Popes.
There's so many other movies out there.
Thanks for the slipper.
Sorry, Pope.
Slippers. I guess the slippers were enough.
And the illustrated screenplay. You sent me. Good job. Thank you.
It wasn't illustrated.
All right, so thank you for bringing that up. Any kind of last Oscar nods?
Well, did we talk about director? We talked about all around
director.
I think we covered that one earlier when we were talking about that.
I'm feeling Bong.
Yeah, I really am feeling. I am too. Yeah,
Sam Mendes I love, but
Well, I mean, see, but that's the thing, though. These wily bastards, I think that they're gonna mess around and give it to Sam Mendes. If they give Parasite the award for Best Picture,
Parasite gets
I don't
Best
think he
Picture.
wins Director. I think they give it to Sam Mendes because we talk about a feat.
And and I would not be mad if either of them won Best Director and the other won Best Picture. I would not be mad about that at all.
Right.
I agree. If I had a vote in the Academy, which I would vote for Sam Mendes myself. I just think the wizardry to pull that off. But if you look at the history of a foreign language film that breaks through at the Oscars, something like Life is Beautiful, Roma, or going back decades. It's very, very rare that a movie will transcend just the international film category and not take home one of the big awards.
Yeah.
And there's no acting nomination for Parasite.
Which is a bummer.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's picture, whether it's director, whether it's screenplay, one of those three, I think one of them's going to go to Parasite. I don't know which one, though.
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
I would tend to agree with that, but like I said, I just think that the way that 1917 is played, they're four people get this reference, but they're like somebody has the big joker, the little joker, the ace, and the king of spades, and they just wait and just go bam, 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 but they got all the dope Uno cards, and they go bam, 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 all in a row, and they ruin you. You thought you had it, and then they just go your pawns are all gone. Whatever the game you want to say, they just play it.
Yeah.
Can't kill me now, and then they drop the thing on you. You know what I mean? And I think 1917 is doing.
I know how cards work. I have no idea how cards work.
But the bottom line, but it's like, they lure you into the trap and they drop the thing on you, and then you got to turn on your wrist and blow up. I think that's what 1917 is doing. I think they really have come on strong at the right time, and with the combination of wizardry. When's the last time Sam Mendes won? Did he win for
he won for American Beauty, correct?
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah. I don't believe he's won since then.
This might be right on time for that. Is all I say. So if there was somebody,
American Beauty was his last win.
Yeah.
American Beauty was last.
So if it isn't Bong, I would say it's Sam Mendes. But like I said, if they throw this to Quentin Tarantino rather than Best Picture or Screenplay, that would wow me out too.
No, it's interesting.
It's wide open, as we've talked about.
Because I really do, as much as we're talking about 1917 and Parasite, I really do still think that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a big contender for Best Picture. So,
and I think people thought I was being dismissive by saying it's Hollywood sort of being Ouroboros eating its own tail, but this is a community that loves them some them.
They do love them some them.
I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. It's just a fact of life. You've gotten out of your small town. You came here and you succeeded.
Good for you.
Pat your own back a little bit. Just don't break your shoulder. Yeah. But so I think that this might be the year that they give him some of those things for being so reverent to the industry. I mean, we're talking about industry awards.
Of course. All right, so this is the part of the show. We've got one last thing. We are going to get to Morbius, because I did promise y'all that's not good. I mean,
sorry, Morbius, you should have come out a day later. You would have had 25 minutes, but now.
I'm sorry, gonna be real quick.
Slow news day.
Yep.
First, we got to thank all of you all so much for your liking and subscribing and sharing. You are the reason, and your support of everything that we do is the reason why we get to get on here and probably dunk on Morbius in like 2 seconds. It's because of all of you and all of your support. So thank you so much for everything that you do. The Mandalorian Season 1 spoiler chat is out now on the channel. Go check that out. Our Galaxy Quest. No, I want it. Our Galaxy Quest documentary, Never Surrender, is also available. You can buy that everywhere you buy your digital movies. And as we've mentioned, everyone knows what's going on with the Australian wildfires. So we're going to be spending the rest of January sharing some links where you can donate to help out the wildfires. So please check the links out in the description down below. All right, so last and final segment, the Morbius trailer via Sony. The first trailer for Sony/Marvel's Morbius movie starring Jared Leto came out this morning with surprising implications for its place in the universe. It's, so we all saw the trailer. What did we think of it overall?
Wow.
He's Batman.
Yeah.
Like literal Batman.
If you had shown me the first 2/3 of that trailer and said, like, this is a trailer for a new Batman movie, I'd been like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's, it truly is, it's Spider-Man, but Batman. He gets bit by...
Wait, so what does he do?
Bat is sucking
Does he go to Pennsylvania and he gets bitten by a bat? What happens?
He just, he cuts his hand open and attracts the bats with his blood. But then did he have to also drink their blood to become it? Because, when the vampire, the way it usually works...
Well, he was dissecting a bat too.
I don't know what's happening. I really don't. Michael Keaton was in the end of it. It was great.
And there are going to be other people from the universe. If you don't want any Morbius spoilers, but if you go onto the IMDb, it's right there that there is going to be an appearance by J. Jonah
and
Jameson.
that mass going towards the chopper was bats. The bats were attacking. Please watch this trailer. No matter what you think, please watch it.
You know, I'm mostly excited because I was like, I don't want sexy Morbius. Ew. So when they showed gross face Morbius at the end, that's when I got kind of
like,
pumped.
all right,
Gross face killer.
Gross face killer.
But look, okay, now everybody thinks that I've been waiting to triple pump. I pump up my Reebok pumps and do a triple pump backwards dunk on this movie. I gotta say, it looks like schlock. That's why it's perfect for schlock season. It should have come out last year in October. Boom! We got a perfect candidate for schlock season. This reissue Planet Terror and Death Proof. Let's get nuts.
This is the headliner for schlock season.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. This is one of those movies, along with New Mutants, where it's like, I'll believe it when I see it.
Okay, can I tell you my favorite part of the whole trailer, honestly, was when they're listing off the other things. The studio that brought you was Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home, and Venom.
Venom did really well.
This is definitely the studio that brought you Venom, and you know what? I had a great time watching Venom.
I did have a really good time watching Venom. This might be really fun. Like, Venom's not a good movie in my opinion, but I really enjoy it.
Totally. I mean, Michelle Williams' wig alone was like, what is happening?
We gotta start wig talk.
I know.
We gotta start wig talk.
We have to.
No, I mean, and again, I think it knows what it is. I could have dealt with a little less bats because, like for real, Morpheus never was a bat guy because his whole thing was in the comic books. Lest people think that I crapped on it without knowing about it. No, I know about almost everything I crap on. And the thing is, he was like a scientist vampire. He had found scientific means to become a vampire, or rather to have power similar to a vampire, and it helped him to do blah blah blah. But now it seems like a little scientific, a little mysticism, which you all know me. I hate magic.
It's true.
So they've added a little bit of but again, I think one of the things I do tend to like is science that is so advanced. Arthur C. Clarke thing, science that's so advanced that it becomes like unto magic. I kind of dig that. So maybe these ancient societies found a way to clear your bloodstream of bad toxins by making you be a bat, and the technology was just lost. I'm trying, guys.
No, I think I still think this is better than
In your world, they call it science. In my world, magic. They're one and the same.
I think that's way better than
that was kind of the whole concept behind Castlevania with that was what it was basically the woman who marries Dracula. Like, she was a scientist, but people were like, she's a witch, but really she was just doing science.
She was just doing science. Yeah, no, this is better than the Stocks College campus's version of Morbius. It's interesting. It's got this weird kind of Doctor Strangey vibe with the I'm gonna learn this thing, and I just like when he's like crossing off all of the things he can do and the craving for blood. And I'm just waiting for someone to be like, "You're a vampire, dude.
Yeah.
You're a vampire." Instead of acting like it's like, "Oh, I can talk to bats," or I can. And
I think that's something that bothers me a little bit is the whole. Yeah, obviously, duh, you're a vampire, because we live in that's asking us to suspend our disbelief a lot, because we all live in a world, and they live in a world, so it's supposed to be like the real world, where we all are familiar with vampires and vampire fiction.
Well, it hits this recent Spider-Man trope too, which is like the one that's carried through all the way is that the villains know Spider-Man somehow. But then this new one has been like the villain is curing himself of some sort of an ailment. Like that was the Lizard and the Amazing Spider-Man and the Green Goblin and Amazing Spider-Man 2, and now we've got Morbius.
To be fair, I think it's supposed to highlight the fact that Spider-Man, as unlucky as he is extremely lucky. Because these people have similar afflictions and different problems, and they put them on themselves, and the science isn't quite right, so they get messed up. Whereas Spider-Man is this shining light of almost happenstance / hope. Whereas they're trying to chase the dragon of being like Spider-Man, and they can't do it, and it's an evil pursuit or something like that.
I like how Sony unilaterally also apparently decided that this was in the MCU.
Oh yeah. Well, the Fantastic Four is going to be smacking up Morbius in no time.
Can't wait. Knock them teeth out.
They're like, you can't stop us from putting Michael Keaton in it.
So here we go. A part of me was like, I will say, I saw Jared Harris, and I was like, no, you leave him out of this.
Oh, well, Jared Harris is one of those classic people where we're going to identify this actor. And I don't know what it is, but they go, oh, you're instant gravitas. Your face, your bearing. I'll put you in utter schlock to ground it.
Yes.
So that everybody starts believing what's happening.
And sorry, go ahead.
Exposition man is usually what.
Right. Well, it's either exhibition, but Lupita Nyong'o was that in Us. A great performance that grounds utter ridiculousness that makes no sense, and that's a really good thing. You need that.
In my household, he is referred to only as acclaimed actor Jared Harris, as in like we'll be watching Chernobyl and we're like, that's acclaimed actor Jared Harris. So when I saw this trailer, I'm like, well, if you need an acclaimed actor, there's no one better than acclaimed actor Jared.
Yeah, well, I grew up with acclaimed actor Richard Harris, so yeah,
That's true.
It's
As did he.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. Ed, where can the people find you?
Oh, well, one thing, I saw this thing about plugging. As soon as I'm about to plug, the world comes down every time. You guys didn't hear that, but Godzilla just apparently came in for an interview. So basically, you can check me on my podcast, Nerd Goat, and you can also check me out on YouTube at Reboot It. We have rebooted several franchises, poorly or greatly. It doesn't really matter. We did it, and it's an intellectual exercise. But also, big ups to Rush drummer Neil Peart. People call him Neil Peart. It's Neil Peart, I do believe. And he was the lyricist as well as the drummer of Rush. Me and 17 other black guys are just so sad right now, because he really was. I just got into Rush pretty recently, and I saw that they were going to stop playing because Neil knew he couldn't drum like Neil Peart anymore for those extended amount of times, and it was just almost like it's super moving that somebody at the end of what's obviously the end of their life kind of feels it and knows it and winds down so they can spend time with their family and with real life instead of going out drumming in some club or drumming even in a big stadium. He wound down like a champ. He was responsible for all their lyrics, which I've sent all the prog rock nerds into flights of fancy for 40 years now. It's just kind of amazing that he could impact somebody like me. I'm old as hell and just discovered these fools, and I'm like all the way down with it. You know what I mean? And it's just the power of that music, man. Rest in peace. And I do have a Patrice O'Neal shirt on. Anyway, just those that have gone away and passed, while we're up here talking about movies and jacking around, there are people, giants pass every day. So just like us to think about that.
There you go. Emma?
I'm Emma Fyffe. You can find me all over the internet at my name, Emma Fyffe.
Awesome. And then later, we have got a new Charting with Dan.
Yeah, I'm going to go grumble into a corner for a few hours, and then I get to have a whole other show with charting, so I apologize to Lon in advance. Maybe I'll cool off a little bit. I apologize to everyone here because I'm sure I just couldn't keep it inside.
No.
Couldn't keep it in anymore. I think I'm gonna kind of break down the nominees by the numbers, and then of course historically, release year and box office and all that fun stuff.
All that fun
me,
stuff.
some nerdy crap. We're getting into some nerdy crap.
Heck yeah, we are. Get into them numbers.
Yeah.
And make sure that you follow us on Twitter at Screen Junkies U. Thank you all so much for joining us today, and we will see you right back here later for Charting with Dan, and then tomorrow for this show. Bye.